Hey, welcome to the podcast, guys. I have a awesome guest. Her name is Amanda Webster from Fund and Grow, based out of Spring Hill, north of Tampa, Florida. And the topic of the day would be funding. You can get a credit line all the way up to $250,000 and even further up to $500,000. So thank you so much, Amanda, for jumping on the show. Wanted to appreciate you and your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am very honored to be here.
So Amanda, I have a couple of questions, and I also have some of my own, things that I want to get funded through you guys too as well. So to kind of start off, I kind of want to understand like what are the minimum qualifications that you guys need in order for a person like myself or anybody else to come through Fund and Grow. Like, what are you guys looking for minimum qualifications?
Yeah, so we focus on business credit, which is the revolving unsecured lines of credit that are on the EIN side. They are housed on a business credit card.
Hmm.
However, there is a personal guarantee component. So we always take a peek at the personal score.
Okay.
That'll be until you've established your business credit score and your paydex score to be able to stand alone, which usually takes several years in business and a certain minimum revenue. But
Hmm.
for today's purposes, for someone who is coming in who hasn't had that time to establish, it's a 700 credit score is usually going to give you the best results.
Okay.
And no major derogatories, right? We just don't want to see bankruptcies or charge offs or collection accounts sitting on there. Foreclosures, depending on the time period, can, sometimes be worked around, especially if it was, for a specific type of situation, because we can talk
Hmm.
to underwriters. Other than that, it really is just projected on your business revenue, basically
Okay.
what your projections are. You don't have to provide, income tax returns or bank statements. It's really just projections.
Okay. Gotcha. And then as far as like a timeline, let's say I start with you guys today. Walk me through, I guess, a timeline of how long it might take me to get a line of credit if all the qualifications are met from what you just spoke about.
So if you signed up today, then we would do a file review tomorrow just to make sure everything's set up. You have to make sure
Mhm.
you, on the day you sign up, fill out your portal. Just got to fill out some information so we have it, sign some documents. We do a full file review. And if you're truly ready to go, we're going to have you into funding within 7 days, usually,
Oh,
depending on how full the schedule is. Sometimes it's sooner, it just depends. But we're going to get you to funding. And when we get you to funding, that means we're actually applying that day. It's not like you have some
okay.
process to go through. You're going to have a phone call with your funding strategist. They're going to go through things. You're going to approve it. And then we are going to actually apply on that day. So we do the applying for you.
Okay. And when you guys do the applying for us, normally how long does it take for the credit cards and you guys to get approved? Is it like a matter of like within 5 business days afterwards?
Some are going to be approved, could be day of or the next day, just depending on
Okay.
what comes back. If we need to, really argue with the underwriters. If there's even if there's an
Mm,
auto approval, we're still going to go through a negotiation process, but you
yeah.
might get approvals right that same day. And then typically, depending on the lender, you're saying 3 to 5 days, sometimes 7 days for the actual physical card to arrive. But once you're
Okay.
approved, it's approved and it's there, and we're going to keep working with you to gain even more. So if Chase comes back and says, "Oh, I'm approving you $15,000," we're not going to accept that. We're not going to let you
Okay.
accept that. We're going to right away start working on negotiating with that underwriting department to get you even more.
Okay. So that's all done on your guys' end. Like, so let's say, Chase comes back with $15,000 at credit line. You guys say no, we say no, and then your team actually works with Chase and try to get up. How much higher are you trying to get it up to?
I mean, it depends on the client and what the
Uh-huh.
underwriter is coming back with, and it's a with you, so we want the client a little bit
Okay.
involved because A, there's some legal things there, but B, we actually want to teach the client how to continue to do this after you're done with us. So
Oh.
if we only get you the $200,000 mark, right, after
Hmm.
that 12 months, we're going to give you all the tools to keep growing those accounts without having to keep pulling your credit, without having to do any of those things, and be able to keep growing those accounts even bigger. We have clients that leave us
Oh.
at 250 and actually grow to 500 just by using the credit and getting increases. And we teach you when to ask for the increases and how to ask for the increases, because in the business world it's a little different than just pushing the button on your app for your personal card to request an increase. A little bit different in the business
Yeah.
world.
Okay. And is there like a credit utilization for your business and your personal that you try to get your clients to stay under?
Yeah, so for personal, only when you're going for applications does this matter. So
Okay.
for your personal, you want to be at 35% utilization on any revolving personal accounts, which is pretty
Okay.
industry standard. Everyone usually knows that number. And then on your business, only when you're going for applications, you need to be at 50% utilization.
Okay. Gotcha.
Otherwise, you can bring your businesses to the max, pay it off, bring it to the max, pay it down a little bit. Doesn't matter. It's only when applications are happening.
I see. I see. And this is if I wanted to, say, apply for the first round of funding, I got to get within that utilization score, and then let's say I go for a second round of funding, I still have to be within that, bring down my my debt to income ratio or my credit utilization level down to 35 and 50% in the second
Yes.
round of funding. Okay.
Yeah, your debt to
Okay.
limit ratios have to be down at the time of funding. And the way our program is established, we want to get you through 3 rounds of funding over that 3 month or over that 12-month period.
I see. Okay. And then you end up mentioning disqualifications. I know bankruptcy is definitely one. What about all the other ones like divorced, felonies, foreclosure, etc.?
So
Do
the
they affect?
criminal in the business credit space typically doesn't come in criminal history stuff
Okay.
unless you're like federally prosecuted for fraud. Then there might be some flags on you, but that's a totally different thing. There is some business traditional lending lenders out there. Like I know Blue Vine pulls credit history, and if you have credit, or criminal history, they typically don't like to lend to that class. I don't know why they get away with it, but they do. But if you have a collections with a balance, depending on the amount, right? So I've seen people with silly ones like, oh, AT&T put me in collections for $100. Those aren't really going to matter as much. But
Okay.
if you have a closed account with a balance, a charge off with a balance that you haven't rectified, those types of things are typically going to be immediate disqualifying marks, and no lender is going to lend to you until you fix them. But that's why
Okay.
we try to have that conversation in the front. We want to have that conversation with people prior to paying us and prior to signing up, or as soon as they sign up, which is why we have a 60-day money back guarantee to allow
Okay.
time for us to ensure we can get you to that funding floor.
Gotcha. And I know we talked a little bit earlier, and I'm going through the process right now. You guys basically make sure that everybody is fundable
Yeah.
before you guys start the process, which is amazing. And can you kind of speak a little bit about that? Like, let's say I come to you as a new person, not knowing if I am qualified or not. You end up mentioning the criteria and the disqualification. But like, let's say we go through the process, like, kind of take me from like step one, like day one with you
Yeah.
guys.
So if you come through the online side, we're going to have that processing call with you usually within a few days. We want to have you right away, or you've had it prior to signing up. But in either case, we're going to be able to tell you very honestly if you can move forward, if this makes sense, and explain. And we're going to explain why and what you have to do to get in that best position. And the reason we do that is, well, A, I don't need a bunch of people writing bad reviews because I took your money and can't get you funding. But
Yeah.
B is that every time you apply for any type of an account that has a PG on it, you're going to get a hard inquiry with very few exceptions. So I don't feel good in my soul if I'm just putting people through funding and I already know they can't get approved. So I've just wasted that inquiry. It's at least 10 points on their credit score, typically on that
Oh,
side.
okay.
And it's not impossible, but it is a little bit of work to try to get that removed. So, and not all the time can you get it removed. TransUnion right now is being super difficult with removing inquiries that shouldn't be on the personal side. But, it's a process, but it's all about providing quality, customer service experience. And I'd rather tell you, hey, you've got 6 months of seasoning needed because you got this brand new personal account, right? Or you've got to pay this down to 35% utilization. It's going to take you 3 months. Okay, you know what? Call us back in 3 months. I'd rather have a satisfied client who's then going to tell other people, because that's what marketing, is all about. Is the
Yeah.
one-on-one referral is way better than just, seeing a paid ad, right? So we want to protect that for our clients.
Gotcha. And just just out of curiosity, what is the cost of your service for the first round of funding?
So it's actually flat fee for
Okay.
all 3 rounds for all 12 months. And it's
Oh,
normally online, it's $39.97.
okay.
And anytime somebody comes in through a partner, through promotion
Yeah.
like this, we offer a $500 discount. So it's
Okay.
$34.97 instead. So it's
Gotcha.
3,500 flat fee for all 12 months, all 3 rounds of funding, and all of
Okay.
the coaching and things that go into it. Everything is all inclusive into one. There's no back end points or anything like that. It's just that one fee.
That's actually really good because for 12 months you're basically coaching somebody through the whole process. You're helping them set up the credit, all for $3,500.
Yes.
That's a steal in my opinion. That's awesome. And you ended up mentioning in our conversation just now about the like points taken off of their credit score. Do you guys help remediate that, or do you guys help to, I guess, resolve those deduction of points, or how do you guys handle that aspect of it?
So we do give a coaching package on how you can get those removed. Of course, we
Okay.
can't call the credit bureau for our
Yeah.
clients, but we give you all the tools to be able to do so. You can employ like a credit restoration company to help as well, and that's an
Hmm.
offer if someone doesn't want to have to do all that work themselves. But it's a separate offer. It's not. We don't provide that at Fund and Grow. But it's really a matter of just giving a call to the bureaus and explaining that those inquiries shouldn't be there. And we give you the tools and the language and things like that on how to do that. But at the end of the day, if one of them, like TransUnion's being annoying,
Yeah.
it's only 10 points. And about 6 months in, it's going to end up no longer mattering. So usually
Right.
about 6 months after an inquiry, most people are not paying attention to it.
Okay. Okay. I kind of want to shift gears here. I've actually gone through the process of Prime Corporate Services, and then I am looking to other sources like yourself, Fund and Grow. I don't know if you know too much about PCS, Prime Corporate Services, but I guess what would be like a distinguishing factor from your competitors that you can say about your company, about Fund and Grow?
So, with other companies like that, they tend to
Yeah.
have a different focus. And for some reason, I don't understand why, they don't have their clients go after the business credit cards
Mhm.
in the beginning. I don't really understand the model, but they focus more on the corporate vendor trade lines, like your net 30s
Mhm.
and 60s and
Yeah.
90-day account type thing and your tier credit. We actually include that in our 12-month membership as a DIY
Oh,
service. So we actually have a portal where they can go in and it shows you step by step how to go to Dun and Bradstreet, create an account there, get your
mhm.
DUNS number, start applying for vendor credit, and we give recommendations on those things. These things
Okay.
can be done at the same time. So I think that's kind of the difference is we are
Oh,
approaching it as a layered from the start where we're doing both. We're encouraging people to start that Dun and Bradstreet style vendor credit right away as soon as they're in the door while we're building the business credit as well. So, I think it's just a style difference.
okay.
I also think that we're pretty successful at getting a lot higher limits over our
Hmm.
term of being with us versus other companies like that. And they're not the only one. There are other ones out there. And their models aren't bad. It's just that people have mixed reviews because it's not enough or
Yeah.
it's not versatile. Business credit's very versatile and you can use it anywhere for anything basically,
Yeah.
whereas these other accounts are only able to be used at that direct vendor.
Okay. And I just want to like kind of get some clarification out here. So let's say, I've gone through the whole process with Funding Grow and I get a credit limit after, let's say, the first round of funding. I get like let's $60,000 in just credit card credit lines. How could I actually liquidate those credit to be able to, or that credit line to be able to buy like a property, like as a real estate investor, or maybe buy a business, a down payment for a business? Is there a way I could do that?
Oh, yeah. So there are third party vendors out there that we've partnered with. They're very
Uh-huh.
reputable, they're 100% on board. And as long as it's B2B, so as
Uh-huh.
long as you're not paying yourself,
Right.
you can grab an invoice, a closing statement, a HUD sheet, whatever you need, in an agreement for buying a business, whatever that, UCC transaction could be. And
Uh-huh.
you are able to get set up with these third party vendors, put in the credit cards, and then they will actually wire transfer ACH the money over to the other business, to the escrow account, to the closing agent, whoever it is, and it will look like cash coming in. So there is a slight transaction fee, depending on which one. It's 2.5 or 2.9% of the transaction you send.
Okay.
So we focus on 0% interest cards. So a lot of real estate
Yeah.
investors come to us for the beginning stages, right? Or for not wanting to touch their cash flow and extend it. And then they have long-term, obviously, uses for this. You can use it for paying for the rehab. You can use it for, your everyday expenses. You can use it to purchase, lead generating softwares, computers, phones, whatever, anything that's business related. So that's their long-term reason they use it. But in the beginning, if you have 0% and you're only paying 2.5% to transact over and look like cash, way cheaper than a lot of other options out there, especially if you're not holding the property. Or if you
Right.
plan on refinancing, because obviously we all know much easier to refinance a property when it's already in your name. So things like that are super helpful for this type of funding. And there's a lot of points and rewards with these cards, so you can literally get free money for using it for all of these
Yeah.
types of things.
That's so okay. So just kind of, now you're giving me some more, I guess, talking points, more ideas that I could probably leverage the credit line for. So let's say if I, you again mentioned before renovation, I can, get credit lines to be able to pay for my rehabs. Now let's just say my contractors, they are not business savvy, but they just operate on their own personal name as
Yep.
their contractor. Is there a way that I could still, because it's not still B, it's like now it's B to C kind of sort of situation, right?
It can still be considered B2B if they're working as a sole prop. So if they're a sole proprietorship, if they have an EIN number, which most of them at least have that
Yeah.
because their accountant has told them to do that, that's still considered B2B. So you
Okay.
could have a roofer that's just John Smith Roofing, or just John Smith doing business as John Smith Roofing, and you could still pay them through this transaction if it makes sense, and ACH the money over like a direct deposit into their checking account. So as long as it's operating as a business, it can still be considered B2B.
Okay. And now I have to go through the third party vendor that you guys trust and verified already.
Yeah, we actually have three to give you
Okay.
options.
Gotcha. And let's say I'm in the, Pace has a group called Gator Lending, and we have people in there that are looking for capital to be able to lend on deals. Let's just say, how can someone like let's say I'm a new lender, for instance, how can I leverage this to lend on properties? Is it because sometimes it's kind of like still a B2B transaction? I'll still have to wire
Yeah.
the money to the title company, and then from there we can
I would
use the
assume it'd
funds.
be set up like any other lending in the sense of you would get the documentation from the title company of what you're paying as the lender and wire transfer it over. And then obviously you have your documentation and your agreement to pay your note, whatever, however you're doing that. And then they're paying your payments. Obviously you just have to know you're responsible to pay off. The card is the line of credit on the credit card is separate from that transaction. So it's not connected directly, but at the same time, I'm assuming there's probably a good little bit of margin there that you could make that
Yeah.
worth it.
Right. Okay. So it's basically the same kind of
Yeah.
process from any other transaction, as long as it's B2B, which everything in investing and business buying is basically is. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is the sky's the limit as long as you're able to use, as long as it's a B2B transaction. It could be done
Correct.
through anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first round of funding, let's say I get approved for, like I said, $60,000, and it's at 0%, right? For how long normally, the average time?
Average is 12 months.
Okay.
However, the way that we design the program is there are certain lenders, a lot of the bigger name ones, allow a merge process. So what we would do is we get you that's why we have 3 rounds of funding, right? So we'd have the first round of funding. You would still be in the 0% period during that second round of funding. So in that round of funding, we're just going to try to increase, maybe add another account or two. But then the third round of funding, we're going to do a merge process. So we'll create, let's say Chase, we'll use my favorite example. You have the one type of Chase card in your first round. Second round, we increased it. So let's say maybe it's at, $70,000, $80,000 now. Then we open a different Chase card, still under the EIN, still same thing. And then we're going to actually merge the available credit. So in that case, we're going to want you to have it paid down as much as possible just for that moment, because we can merge all the available credit into that new card. And now you've added that 60, 70, whatever $1,000 onto the new card you already probably got another 50 onto. So theoretically, you could have $120,000. I've had more than that merge into that card. But the beautiful thing is it restarts the 0% because it's going into the new card.
Oh, really?
And unlike personal, it doesn't hurt you necessarily to close a business card. It's not like the seasoning that you see with the personal side. The way that the business credit reports with like Experian or Dun & Bradstreet is they don't look at seasoning that way. So you can actually close that card and you don't necessarily lose the seasoning like you do in the personal side. So you're able to merge it over. I think the highest I've ever seen is 190 on one card.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that through a merge process.
Right.
But
Okay.
imagine having one Chase card at 190,000 that you just restarted the 0% interest on, that you now have another 12 months. So that's why sometimes we say up to 24 months, depending on the cards, because we can merge in that final round and give you some extra time.
That's amazing. Okay, that's crazy. So, and then is there a way that we can make a 0%? I don't know, like 5 years. Like, if you just keep going through this, would you go through these counts of like funding and merging the whole time? Like,
You-
like make it.
There's not every lender does this. So it's
Yeah.
only certain lenders that do it. But theoretically, yes.
Oh,
Practically, though, they don't have enough cards for you to apply for necessarily on the business side to get that length at a 0%. Chase has other types of cards, higher level cards that aren't 0%. You know, when you get into like, you know, I use Amex too, Amex Platinum, right? If you want a platinum card, you're sacrificing 0%, but they have these great rewards that some people will actually use. So
Right.
it matters. Theoretically, yes, but you have to have enough of those offers to be able to do it.
I see. So there's a lot of new folks that I talk to, and a lot of them are starting their business out, their business, investment journey out, and they started their LLC, let's say today. Is there any like options for them? Is it still the same process? Do they get a lower funding source? Like as a new company, like how does it work out for a new person that just started?
Very interesting, and I can't explain it to the common person because I don't even understand it myself. However, typically, as long as it's showing up on the Secretary of State site for whatever state they filed in, as long as we can see it, or they have documentation for some states that aren't as public, we can get funding. It doesn't really have a huge impact because you have the personal guarantee side of things. So this is actually why this credit becomes so versatile for people, because you could theoretically set up an LLC, go get funding. As an example, I'll use myself as a guinea pig. I have a side hustle business for me and my husband, and I created it in Florida. That's where I live. And I want to say a week and a half later, I went through funding and I got like $75,000.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't, I've never gone back for another round because I don't need more than that right now. And it scares me to have too much, but I also just don't have time. But my point is like, it didn't affect it. It was a brand new LLC. So now if you're operating as a sole proprietorship, that's a different answer. A sole proprietorship, you're going to want some seasoning on. So, that, because it's not a true entity. So they look at it a little bit different. So I always tell people, if you have a newer sole proprietorship, you're probably better off just creating an LLC and starting from there.
So you and your husband did a partnership?
No, I mean, I just did the funding. I didn't have him. You don't have to have all of the owners on there. You just have to disclose them.
Okay. So an LLC, like how long of a seasoning period are you suggesting that someone has, or wait?
I mean, I only waited a week and a half, so I would say that it doesn't necessarily matter. I will say, obviously, I have seen people that have 2 years under their belt with the LLC and a really strong credit profile, and they've gotten over 100,000. So there's definitely something there, But I think that in our type of program, because we have 12 months, we make up for it anyway. So it doesn't, I wouldn't necessarily suggest waiting unless you're not needing the money right away. Then you could set it up and wait. But if you're looking to try to get and build it, because like anything else, whether it's corporate credit or business credit that we're doing, you have to have time on your side to be able to build it to get to that level.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So just give it a couple of months is what I got from that. Okay. So I have a personal question that I like to ask, and revolving around my situation. I have a whole life insurance policy, and I need to fund a certain of thousands of dollars each year to that policy. Is there a way after funding, could I leverage the credit line to do a B2B transaction? It is an insurance company, right? So I don't know if I could do that. Like for example, let's say give you like a easy number. Let's say I need $10,000 to fund my whole life insurance policy. Could I use your third party lender after getting approved for, let's say, $50,000, use $10,000 out of that $50,000 to fund my whole life insurance policy?
So the question isn't for me because my answer is every lender here wouldn't necessarily care. The question
Right.
is, will the insurance company, I'm assuming they're not accepting of a credit card, or are they? Because if
I
they
don't
are,
know.
you could just pay with
Yeah.
a credit card, right? I have a whole life policy also, but it comes out of my checking account, so I don't really pay attention to it when I pay it. I just process it and move on. But if they'll accept an ACH transfer and you can get the information from them, then theoretically, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I do give them either an ACH or a wire transfer
Yeah.
to them to be able to fund that policy. And okay, that's actually interesting because now it's giving me some more ideas in regards to how I can create more wealth for myself through leveraging credit cards, like which is awesome.
Yeah.
Has anybody like out of your, I guess out of the years that you've been doing business in this particular sector, has there been something that creative? Like what's the greatest thing you've ever seen like done with these types of credit lines?
I mean, I think in general, the real estate investing pocket is huge, right? So
Yeah.
I recently, this is actually recently, and I didn't even know you could do this. I guess I didn't even think about it. It was someone who does the Burr method, which is a
Uh-huh.
pretty popular real estate investing method, but I'm sure this could work for other things as well. Is they actually were able to include in the closing the cost of the rehab. So they pulled all of the money into the actual closing, and then the closing agent gave them a check, gave them cash to go pay for the renovations. So they didn't have to do multiple transactions. I thought that was super creative that they didn't even have to, they just put it all in the deal, pulled out the extra from the deal, paid everybody cash, which actually made it cheaper because those people were able to work out deals by being cash buyers. I thought that was a super creative thing, in general. And I think that the only other one I've actually seen that I think was just awesome to watch that whole process was a client who I literally watched him turn his wholesaling business 10 exit, come back, 10 exit again. Now he's just huge all over, Instagram, and you know who he is. It's
Yeah.
just it's crazy to see somebody go from where he was to where he is today. And he doesn't even probably need his business credit anymore because he has so many other
Right.
things happening. But to see somebody be able to completely create a life for themselves, just had a new baby, has a great thing happening for him, just to watch it and see somebody be able to truly create the entrepreneurial dream from what they did with us. And it doesn't even matter what it was creative or not. I don't think wholesaling is a truly creative idea, but I think
Right.
that how he was able to do it and have the drive to make it all have a return. And now he's just literally living his best life with his, he calls it something cartel, which makes me laugh. But, it's just fun to watch that. And I think that's great.
Well, yeah, that's also actually a really smart way to leverage credit cards, and I'm sure there's a whole process in regards to how that person was able to pull in that credit card credit line to be able to fund the repairs for his property at closing, which was really neat. Is that just I guess an addendum or like another addition to the contract
I
sent to the
think,
vendors?
yeah, I think they just somehow included it into the closing statement.
Hmm.
I don't even, he didn't share me with the statement, but I know he did it. And
Yeah.
he actually, he has a private group that he kind of like chronologic this whole
Oh,
thing. And I'm
okay.
part of that group because I'm in there, helping
Yeah.
with them. But it was just crazy because I didn't even think you could do that. I didn't know you can do that. I'm not a real estate investor. I learn things every day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if anybody wants to basically find Amanda, get a hold of her, or even just start with the Fund and Grow program, it's going to be in the show note, guys. So make sure you guys check on that and click the link. But if somebody actually wanted to reach out to you, Amanda, where can they actually get a hold of you?
So for me, it's a super easy thing. It's just
Yeah.
fundandgrow.com/Amanda. It brings you to all my public stuff, all my social media, everything that I'm doing. But yes, in the show notes will be how you engage with Fund and Grow, get a free consult, get signed up, whatever it may be. But I have a passion for educating people,
Uh-huh.
so that's where my social media and my public platform is all just about educating, providing, free inspirational things for leadership. That's kind of my passion. I don't sell anything outside
Yeah.
of just, hey, check out Fund and Grow. I like to just educate.
Cool. I appreciate that, Amanda. And thank you so much for hopping on the show. I learned so much, and I can't wait to get my first round of funding in with you guys.
Yeah, super excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, guys, that's it.